the 11 are still thoroughly confused and in the dark, essentially. They are talking amongst themselves, rumours. And then, out of the blue, he appears. Shalom, alechem. Peace unto you. This greeting, in some shape or form, comes across the centuries. When one visits a sick person, one is invited to say, peace to this house and to all who dwell in it. The peace of the Lord be with you always. We hear just before receiving him. The bishop, who is in the fullness of the priesthood, and he alone, may begin with, peace be with you. In the East, not long before receiving the Lord, there is also a spreading of peace. Peace unto all. The Lord therefore spreads an atmosphere of Shalom. Now the betrayer is no longer in the band. There is total harmony this time. He is going to commission his disciples. Eventually, in that place where glory was seen and re-seen after the resurrection, Mount Tabor, disciples make disciples. A disciple is one who, by its very nature, learns. He has nothing to teach, but everything to accept. He starts on ground zero. I want to know. The Lord has that authority, and we, in his name, when mandated, have a share of it, and we must give his authoritative teaching, not improve upon it or take away from it. Listen to it and transmit it. It is not ours to alter. One can omit things and thereby not transmit the teaching by implication that they don't matter or are part of it. One can water things down because they're uncomfortable. Then one is transmitting one's own. Do we know more than the Alpha and the Omega? Knowledge, the self-knowledge of the Father, the Son, Hologos. Our role is to listen and humbly transmit, not our own, his. And he is depending on our vocal cords. But there is a fullness in the teaching which is not only the transmission of facts, of truths, of what is given, or the dogmenon, the given thing, dogma. There is also the transmitting of power. He did not found a club, he handed on authority, his authority. And therefore, our liturgy does not need human improvement. That too is received. It comes across the centuries and has the advantage of having been slowly given by the Holy Spirit, generation after generation understanding the same thing more fully, and therefore calmly and in peace, abiding in that presence which has its natural language. And peace has been that expression of it in East and in West until recent times. A jarring note is that of the human, the strident, now, let's say it, the happy-clappy, which is the profane, crashing into the divine domain and invading it, and thereby deflecting it and giving us more of what we seem to want, ourselves, and less of the genuine encounter, because we want to encounter each other. In the interest of spectacular performance, much peace is lost in the hearts of the faithful, who instinctively, in that element of the sensus fidelium, know this can't be right. They have to follow the noisy majority, as is always the case. But unfortunately, it is not only that, but both in the wrong application of liturgical renewal and in the application of fidelity to what is received, there can be, at both extremes, different forms of the same error, that of not maintaining at all costs the divine atmosphere of peace. When the liturgy becomes so much focused on the rite, with all its details, that the mind goes towards the rite, and not the one inhabiting it, then we fall into the error of ritualism. When also certain things are done without engagement, which can be the case if words are too quickly said, then one is going into automatism. Neither are worship in spirit and in truth, that which the Father seeks, no more than is disobedience to the rubrics, whatever they may be, in the name of inventiveness and skill, to draw attention, perhaps for the best of motives, but nevertheless not blessed, because formally in discontinuity with the will of God expressed in the rubrics, the which in the present rite are actually large enough and broad enough to allow for intelligent application without having to invent more and more and more each time, lest we become boring. Is God boring? Man soon becomes very boring. But there is one element which should always be present, excluding the other, which is devastating. Peace resides in charity. Let there be love. And the atmosphere that the Lord had in the upper room was peace. And in the explosion of this Shalom, alechem, it is the peace that he once transmitted for evermore and evermore. For without peace, we cannot either encounter each other, the hurting each other, or God, for whose sake we are there in the first place. And that peace should pervade all the levels of our being, actually even the physical. A comportment which respires peace, not rushing, not looking all over the place, interiorized and calm, as would have been the Last Supper. Majesty in the midst. That can happen in the old and the new, and the Lord will bless the authentic expression of either. I was moved when it was indicated to me that a miracle had taken place, I believe in Lourdes, when all the bishops were celebrating there. One can see it actually on YouTube. The title is either French or English, Miracle Eucharistique or Eucharistic Miracle. It is to be seen quite easily that all these bishops are there, a huge crowd, and a huge crowd of priests. Might not be actually the bishops' conference, but it was certainly a number of bishops and a very large number of priests. I believe in the basilica, the modern one of Lourdes. And one can see, as they do in France when there is a concelebration of any size, they go, after a certain point, from recitation into chant. Normally it's at the epiclesis that they start chanting. There's a melody recognized all over France for that, and it keeps its concelebrants together. And one can see one of the bishops there, the main concelebrant, with a good voice, he goes into mode, and also the organ calmly comes in at that point and backs up with great delicacy, creating an atmosphere. And the Lord comes in. One can see the power of authentic celebration coming in there. And at a certain point one sees that the Lord honours it because he's being honoured by care. All the power of the priesthood is coming through. And if one looks carefully, one sees the miracle taking place. After the consecration, and the large host is placed back on the large paten, one can see for a long time the paten is levitating. It's not touching the altar. And the consecration goes on, and calmly the Lord wants to draw attention to the fact that he is truly present and likes to be honoured with the maximum of the human potential. There is a grace in the air in authentic renewal, as there is in an interiorized celebration of what we have received from the centuries. But both have this in common: Shalom, peace. Nothing jarring should enter into liturgy. We respire the peace that is our God.